When the world still thought in myths and miracles, one man dared to say, "Truth is not a matter of belief, but of reason." And from that moment, the human mind never truly slept again. Athens, 2,300 years ago. Aristotle sat beneath an olive tree, watching his students debate. One spoke of gods, another of fate. He stayed silent, then asked softly, "How do you know what you say is true?" A simple question, but from it, a revolution was born. Aristotle wrote the Organon, 6 books that laid out rules of thought never seen before. He discovered that the mind had structure, like a building, a foundation, pillars, and a roof. If one part collapsed, the whole truth fell with it. Thus was born formal logic, the first system to separate feeling from reason. He created the syllogism. All men are mortal. Socrates is a man. Therefore, Socrates is mortal. To us, it seems simple, but in his time, it was like inventing a new language for truth. That logic spread like fire, from Greece to Rome, from monks to scientists, from ink to circuits, and in every modern form of thought, from algorithms to law to philosophy, the pulse of Aristotle's logic still beats. Thousands of years later, humanity built machines that could think, yet none of them escaped the formula he created. Even artificial intelligence today still runs on the way. Aristotle thought 2 millennia ago, because logic is not just a science. It is the eternal shadow of a mind that never sleeps. Before science existed, people explained lightning as the wrath of gods and rain as the tears of heaven. Then came Aristotle, wielding a silent weapon, reason. He did not defy the gods, but he challenged the way humans thought about them. At Plato's academy, he studied under his master, but he felt the world could not be explained only through ideas. He sought truth that could be touched, observed, measured. And from there, logic was born. A way of thinking grounded not in myth, but in evidence. Aristotle structured thought like an architect building a temple of reason. Every argument must have a foundation, not just belief. Every conclusion must stand on proof, not dogma. When others still believed the earth was surrounded by gods, Aristotle measured the sun's shadow to prove the world was round. He did not merely believe, he demonstrated. And from that, humanity slowly learned to think in light. His logic became the first torch, a small flame that would ignite the entire history of science, from Galileo to Newton to Einstein. Every scientific experiment today echoes the method Aristotle forged, rejecting superstition, demanding evidence. The gods may fall silent, but logic keeps speaking. And as long as humans seek truth, that fire will never die. When others spoke of truth, Aristotle asked, "On what do you base your claim?" That simple question changed the way humanity thinks, forever. Aristotle founded his own school, the Lyceum, not just a place of learning, but a laboratory of thought. No rituals, no holy texts, only a long walkway where students debated as they walked beside him. He believed knowledge came not from silence, but from conversation, from the clash of ideas. At the Lyceum, Aristotle divided the world into branches of knowledge: logic, physics, biology, ethics, politics. Everything that existed, from stars to ants, found its place in his mind. He observed, recorded, analyzed, and each note he wrote became the first brick of modern science. Imagine, 2,000 years before microscopes, a man walking through a garden writing about the anatomy of fish. He was studying life without ever entering a lab. He was a scientist before the word existed. Today, every university in the world is the shadow of the Lyceum, and every academic discussion is an echo of Aristotle's footsteps in his garden of thought. Before Alexander conquered the world with his sword, his mind was first conquered by a teacher, Aristotle. In the palace of Macedonia, a young boy sat beside an old philosopher. Alexander thirsted for the world, but Aristotle gave him something sharper than a weapon, a way to think. He taught him logic, rhetoric, and the art of understanding people. Those lessons followed Alexander into battle, turning into strategy. Alexander learned to conquer not just with power, but with insight. Every land he entered, he first sought to understand, as Aristotle had taught him. He didn't just fight, he conquered minds, teacher and student, two poles of power, intellect and force. But every great teaching carries a seed of divergence. Alexander would conquer the world, but Aristotle had already conquered his mind. Two giants of thought. One believed the world was born from ideal forms. The other believed ideas were born from the world itself. Their war shed no blood, yet it shook the foundations of human history. Plato taught that everything we see is but a shadow of a perfect realm above. Aristotle looked at his teacher and said, "I love Plato, but I love truth more." To him, Truth was not in the heavens. It was here on earth, in leaves, stones, flowing water, and human breath. Their conflict was not merely philosophy. It was a battle between idealism and reality, between dream and observation. And from that clash, modern science was born. Aristotle broke tradition, rejecting even the dogma of his master. He chose reality, even if it meant defying legend. Plato built a sky for the mind. Aristotle gave humanity a way to measure it. For the ancient world, thinking was an art. For Aristotle, it was a method. He rejected the idea that wisdom came solely from contemplation. Truth, he said, must be built from observation and structured reasoning. He created the first framework of deduction. If A is true, and B follows from A, then C must be true. This was the birth of deductive logic. From that structure grew all of science. Every theory, every experiment, every modern algorithm stands on Aristotle's logic. One man, armed only with ink, defied centuries of superstition. He replaced belief with verification. He didn't teach people what to think. He taught them how to think. Before laboratories, before microscopes, there was a man who studied life with nothing but his eyes, Aristotle. He observed fish, birds, sea creatures, and insects. He dissected them to understand the purpose of every organ. He documented over 500 species with extraordinary accuracy for his time. He discovered something revolutionary. Every creature had a purpose and function. Nothing in nature was wasted. He saw the world not as chaos, but as a system. And that system became the first biology in history. When the world thought knowledge came only from scripture, Aristotle learned directly from creation itself. Man is a political animal, said Aristotle. But he wasn't speaking of power. He was speaking of the soul. He believed that humans could achieve true happiness only through life in community. He studied systems of government, not to find the strongest, but the most just. To him, politics was the mirror of ethics, how to live well together. He identified three forms of power: monarchy, aristocracy, and democracy, and warned that each could turn into tyranny if corrupted. He wrote not for kings but for people, not to conquer but to create harmony. He was no politician, yet every modern constitution owes something to him. 2,000 years later, Aristotle's shadow still stretches across every classroom, laboratory, and library in the world. His works on logic, ethics, politics, and biology became the foundation of Western thought. From Europe to the Middle East, great minds like Avicenna and Thomas Aquinas copied and expanded his ideas. Each generation saw itself reflected in Aristotle, thinking, reasoning, proving. Ages changed, but the structure of his thought stood firm like ancient marble pillars. His body vanished, but his system endures. Aristotle no longer speaks, yet his mind never stops teaching. When the world forgets the names of kings and wars, one name will remain: Aristotle. He left no palace, no empire, no treasure. He left a pattern of thought, and that pattern pierced through millennia, becoming the foundation of science, logic, ethics, and modern education. From search engines to physics theories, from the way we debate to the way we write essays, everything flows from one root: systematic thinking. Times change, technology evolves, but the way we reason remains Aristotelian. He proved one thing: true power lies not in the sword, but in a mind that never sleeps.